we're talking about having a blockage, right?
Yeah, I think, one of my clients called me and she is, all of a sudden I've attracted a lot of senior clients, I guess, because I'm in the place where a lot of seniors live now.
Okay.
But I've got like 4 senior clients right here in my neighborhood. And one of my clients called me and she said, every time I open the computer, I either crash it or I delete whatever has been sent to me or I can't do anything. And I said to her, not knowing those words would come back to me, I said to her, you're bringing negative energy
Yeah.
to the computer, because when I was sitting there with you, I went and met with her and showed her how to log on and everything and how to look at her book that I had been working on for her. And she did perfectly fine, no issues at all. But then when she got home, she got back into her negative spiral and she sent me messages with like 100 exclamation points and oh no, and like 20 O's in the no. And I'm like, you're doing this to yourself because you are infusing that situation with negative energy. And then I realized, oh my God, I'm doing it too. Because when I'm doing social media for my clients, I'm on fire. I'm doing amazing. I'm just like, they're getting views and likes. But then when I do it for my own books,
Interesting.
That exactly. I'm bringing the negative energy is not coming from anywhere else. It's coming from me. And
I mean, that's so powerful to have clients show up and be a mirror to you so that you can see what's going wrong so that you can then shift it. I just love it when the universe brings that on. As much as it's painful because you're like, no, I'm in resistance. But when you can have that breakthrough, Angie, like how powerful is that?
And I was so proud of myself. And I said, April will be so proud of me because even in light of realizing that I was the source of the negativity, I did not beat myself up. I said, thank you. Thank you that I'm aware, that I know what the problem is. I know how to fix it. I understand it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And, and I could be forward looking, because when you discover a problem, you can respond to it in negatively or positively.
Right.
And the negative response is, well, I'm so dumb. I'm so stupid. I'm such a failure. I'm this, I'm that, I'm the other. But when you respond to it with awareness and gratitude, that is powerful. And I have to tell you, it was like a pivotal moment for me over these last few days to say, okay, I know what it is. I know it's me. I'm fixing this. I refuse to let my own books, do whatever they're doing without my assistance. And my clients are, hitting bestseller lists, without me. I mean, we did hit the bestsellers. I'm glad for that. But, we should be at a million books sold by now.
Right. But we always want to sell more books, right? And it's always the thing. It's like, I was just watching this video on Instagram. My best friend was showing it to me. And she's like, I'm always complaining about the amount of content that I make. And I'm like, I'm a coach, I'm a trainer. I want to be an author. I mean, I am an author, but I want to write more books. Angie wants to write her books. I'm like, how do we do this? And I feel like it's always content. Like I'm always like got this barrier with content because it's not what the other things that I love to do. And she just showed me this video on Instagram and it was like, I'm a doctor. I'm a content creator. I'm a real doctor. I do serve patients and I'm a content creator. So the and is so powerful. It was like 12 different professions, teachers, business owner, MBA student. It was all these different professional people, mums, and I'm a content creator. And I was like, I'm going to use that and I'm a content creator, because you're right. It is the way your client sat down at the computer to have that mental negative block, that spiral is stopping her from being able to do it. And you just helped me unblock something, because I'm just going to be like, yeah, and I get to create content. And I'm excited. And I think when you can take on that approach, things will show up in your world. Like this week, I found a new software that I'm super excited to try because it can just like shorten the time of making content. So if you can, like anything in life, find processes and technology or anything that can help you kind of be more productive with what you're doing and learn the skill to do that, then you're going to have a positive experience of actually doing that. So I think there's so many technologies out there that can help us get past our own brain. But wow, what a powerful moment for you. That's great.
Growing up, there was a song that we used to sing in church called I Am Who he says I am, talking about all the things that God says about us in
Right.
scripture, right? And, April's a deeply spiritual person. I'm more religious, I would say, than spiritual, but the same concept applies. You are who you say you are. And my
Right.
daughter asked me one time, Mom, at what point, because, she started writing and she joined an authors club and she is published because we did a series of short stories. So she got to have one of her short stories included in the book. And she
Okay.
said, at what point do I get to say I am an author? And it was the fabulous question. And she actually asked the question in the room where all the other authors were. So I just stopped everybody and said, hey guys, I know we're breaking to go home, but this is a great question. Let's talk about it. At what point are you an author, right? And that the same is true of, and we came to the conclusion that you are an author when you say you're an author. When you write that first letter, you are an author at the moment you say that you are. And if you say, I'm a content creator, or whatever the thing is that has you blocked, it could be anything that you are struggling with and you feel like I'm not, you're suffering from imposter syndrome, which is what I think I was suffering from, or you're suffering from fear or, fear of failure or fear of success. Both of them are very real threats.
Yeah.
If you will approach it by saying, this is what I am, like I am a content creator, I am a book marketer, I sell millions of books, that's who I am, right? And then your brain begins to adjust to that new reality, and you're not always fighting against yourself to accomplish the things that you say you want, because you're in alignment. Your goals, your values, your desires, your heart, and your brain are all in alignment with the thing that you say you're after.
So this is so powerful, because I am is one of the most powerful statements you can use. And that is biblical, by the way. And I did go to church in Harlem last Sunday because I love going to church. So I love, contrary to people's belief, I love gospel, I love worship. And one of the passages that was read last week, I actually wrote it down this week. So sometimes we need to be, I'm going to read it. So if I'm looking down, sometimes we need to be reminded to breathe, just breathe and be. Not to worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring its own worries, and just be and live in the moment. Matt 6:34. And that is what I've been practicing all week, like living in the moment, taking a deep breath and remembering that I am powerful. I am a creator, and not to worry about tomorrow, what's not coming. The journey of entrepreneurship is a challenge, right? Like you're always in this, like, how do I do more? How do I do more? And I had this situation that happened this week where my daughter is getting hired to go and do her first performance in Vienna, which I'm really excited about, under her own artist name, the narrator.
Oh, fantastic.
And she was like, Mom, I really want you to come. I really want you to come. And I was like thinking of all my brain, all the reasons why I can't go. It's like, oh, the flight ticket's so expensive, this, that, and the other. Can I afford it? Which always comes to me because I've got that from just being a single mom in survival mode, right? So that's the thoughts that start happening. And then I go, okay, April, hold on. And then I went online, I looked at flights, and they were like about $900. I was like, oh, that's just too much. So I went outside. I'm at my best friend's house. So at night we go outside, we sit outside. It's lovely. I took some deep breaths and I was like, if I could just find a flight for $600, that would just be amazing. Anyway, so I'm talking to my best friend. Come back in, get on the computer, flight for $599. I kid you not. I'd be looking for the flights all week and they've all been $800 to $900 to $1,000. And she just reminded me, April, you know how powerful you are as a creator when you say something with so much like intent and no resistance? Like that just, it would be really nice if I could just get one for $600. Then I could go. It was like no resistance. It was just like that would be great. And literally I got the flight, so I booked it. So I'm going. I'm super excited. But I hadn't found a flight for under $850, Angie, for 6 days. I've been looking for it and I've been in resistance, that mental spiral of like, oh, it's not enough. And then planning out and what do I get to do? What do I get to adjust? And then literally I just said it out loud and I got the flight for $599. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I can believe it. That is the power. And I actually said, to God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, whatever you believe is your creator, I just really need it. I just would really like a flight for $600 and I'll go. And literally it showed up.
There it was. It's so crazy. When I think back to my, upbringing, my religious tradition, and reading the Genesis, it said the worlds were framed by God's words. He spoke the world into existence, not
Yeah.
like got down on his hands and knees. He only did that when he made humans, right? But the rest of the world was formed just by words. And we are supposed to be moving and operating in that godlike energy, that godlike power. And believing that, I know, is a stretch, but practicing it isn't. You have zero to lose by saying you are whatever it is that you want to be. You have nothing to lose. There's no penalty. There's no cost to you. There's nothing. And maybe you don't want to say it around other people because you fear you'll be embarrassed if it doesn't manifest. But, you know, somebody like me, I would use that as my challenge. I'm going to say that around other people because I want to be held accountable to that. And I want them to see me that way. And I want them to accept that this is the reality I am creating right now in this moment with my words. I am saying, yeah, I sell millions of books every single year. Every year I sell millions of books. Of course. Like, you know.
Why wouldn't you? You're an amazing author.
The books are amazing. I mean, everything we do, I think, is really powerful and high quality. And I'm not trying to be, you know, braggadocious about that. What I am saying is that we work really hard. I mean, we work. I don't know anybody, April, that works as hard as you other than myself. That's the God's heaven truth. And I know some really hardworking like people, but you and I are like pedal to the metal all the time. And we're on all the time because sometimes we had to do things impromptu. Like today, we had to just make something happen and we made it happen. And so to say something like that, it's not that you're not speaking the truth. You're speaking the future. That's what you're doing. You're creating an atmosphere for what you desire to be evident and manifested in your present life.
So let's talk about what stops people from doing that. Because again, I have amazing conversations when I'm here at my best friend's house and we just unpack stuff, right? Like we'll just have a conversation and it'll go, whoo, and it'll unravel a whole package of information. And so we were talking this morning about survival context, and there's 4 survival contexts, which I learned through the transformational training that I did, that keep people stuck from moving forwards. And when they show up in your life, it's really important that you recognize them and start to look at them and then move beyond it. So one of them is being right. So that will get you stuck, like that survival context. So a survival context, just for more context on it, is when your back's against the wall or when you're in a stressful situation, or sometimes not even a stressful situation, just like you're trying to maneuver through something like a challenge or a problem, or it could be a good situation as well. But most of the time it's when you're in that survival mode, how you learn to survive as a child. Okay, so that's what the survival context is. But what this survival context does is keep you in a box. And you want to get out of the box, right? Because when you're in the box, you're stuck in a box. But when you get beyond the box, now there's all of these possibilities. So for survival context, one is being right. Okay. The second one is looking good. The third one is being safe and comfortable. And the fourth one is being in control. Right. So I've had a situation happen recently. Well, I have situations happen all the time, but one of them was where my survival context, looking good, came about. And looking good has been my survival context my whole life. I was an identical twin. I was always told, oh, you're the good one. So I was programmed it from an early age. I was also in a boarding school surrounded by other girls, right? That if I was good, I didn't get in trouble. And there was a lot of terrible things that happened when you got in trouble, like punishment in this boarding school. So you didn't want to get there. So you wanted to look good at all times. And so that played out in my corporate career really well. But it doesn't work for me when I'm in relationships and I'm trying to say what I want to say, but I'm trying to look good at the same as saying it, right? It keeps me stuck. So I think these are 4 things that you really need to understand. When you can start to understand these 4 survival contexts, you can then start to think about the thoughts that you're having. And my best friend was like, I don't understand looking good at all. She's like, you mean you care what people think? I said, yeah. Like when I'm writing things, I said, but it has worked for me in some respect. But it also, I can see where it doesn't work for me in certain relationships where I need to just say what I need to say and not care about what anybody thinks, right? And I do care what people feel, but I shouldn't care about what people think as much. And I'm just saying that because you just brought that up when you were talking about like caring about what people think too much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it will keep you stuck.
Well, and because people don't always know what they think. You know,
Right.
they may love you today, hate you tomorrow, and love you the day after that. Thoughts are very unreliable because very few people examine their thoughts. You know, as we encourage people to do in our book, Incurable Positivity, we encourage you to look at your thoughts and inspect them to see where they are, not necessarily trying to change anything, but just trying to understand where you are. But very few people go through that exercise. And so as a result, they're not sure what they think, or what they think changes a lot. And
Right.
so when you care about what people think, you do imprison yourself. I remember a story from my like first or second grade about a man who's walking with his donkey and his son. And they're on their way to the fair. They're very poor. They're going to hopefully sell the donkey, have enough to buy some seeds to put some grain in the ground. And they pass one group of people and they say, well, look at those two. They're ridiculous walking beside a donkey. One of them should be riding. So the father gets up on the donkey and starts riding. Then they pass another group of people who say, well, look at that ungrateful. He's the grown up. He should he put his son on the donkey and let him walk. So the son gets up. Then they got past another group of people and they say, well, what a horrible son to let his poor old father walk. So then they both get on. And then they're like, oh, look at that poor donkey having to carry those two people. And then they're like, they should be carrying the donkey in this horrible heat. So they put the donkey on a pole and they're carrying the donkey. And they're like the fair is right there, few steps away. All they have to do is cross the bridge, and the donkey sees the water and starts to struggle and breaks off the pole and falls into the river. And
Wow.
that's sort of a metaphor for how we live, because people say, well, you're too this, or you're too that, or you're not enough of this and not enough of that. And then you try to shift and adjust your personality or your lifestyle or your anything to accommodate somebody else's perspective. And the reality is, you have to know what you think. That's what matters. What do you think? What do you think about yourself, about your future, about your skills and your abilities and all the good that you have to give to the world? That's the person whose opinion you need to be worrying about.
Well, and I think this is really important when you start on this incurable positivity path, right? To really think about this and how, if you do operate under looking good and caring about what people think, because once you start this incurable positivity path, there will be people that will have something to say to you about it. I've had people say to me in the last 2 weeks, you're not empathetic, you're dismissive, you're this, you're that. Like, I've had a lot of yous, right, in the last couple of weeks. And I could take that on and be like, God, yeah, maybe that's right. And I was like, I'm just practicing incurable positivity. And I know that that's what works for me. And I know that's what's going to work in the long run for you. I'm not going to push it on you, but I'm not going to think about what you're saying to me and how you're you, because if I just get stuck in that, I wouldn't be able to practice incurable positivity every day. There is going to be moments where you're just going to have to practice that and keep moving forwards and not really care about what other people say about you. And there may be times where people say, oh, you're not being realistic, you're not being empathetic, dismissive or whatever, like sugarcoating things, all of that. It's really interesting. I heard a bit about that in the last couple of weeks. I had to really think about it. I was like, it's okay if you think like that, but I'm not going to take that on, because I am genuinely happy to be more positive on a daily basis. Like, right. Seriously,
And what's the alternative? I mean, if I were ever to abandon positivity as a life philosophy, it has become sort of the standard of my life to be positive in all situations, no matter how frustrating or upsetting or annoying or whatever, to opt for positivity as often as I possibly can. I lived the other way. I was not optimistic or happy or joyful or any of that. And I mean, I've been in the church all my life, where you would think these concepts are being taught, but it's the opposite in many places, and certainly in the places where I spent much of my, religious education. So I find, because I've had the same thing, by the way, I've had people say, well, you're too metaphysical, you're too woo-woo, you're abandoned your Christian values for positivity. And my response to that is, no, you all just weren't teaching Christianity right.
Right.
You weren't teaching it right. Because if you read it correctly, you will understand that it's all about positivity. It's all about thinking positive. It's all about faith and belief and trust and hope and love. It's love, 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 love all the time. So no, I can't accept what people say about my shift in my attitude, because the opposite or the alternative is so unpleasant. And I've been there, I've lived there, and I won't go back.
Yeah, and I won't go back to neediness. I think I'm having a shift turning 50 where I'm like literally going, yeah, needy people, neediness, needy relationships, they just don't fit into my world anymore. And if I let go of being right and looking good, well, not being right, I don't care about, but looking good, I wouldn't really care about them as much anymore. And so then I get to continue to manifest and create magic and like focus on the things that matter the most. And I am fortunate. I have, don't have a big family, just have just my kids and some really close friends around me where I get to like talk out and share things. But for the most part, I was having a conversation today. I was like, my friend's like, yeah, you just let go of things easier than most people. That's not disingenuous. It's just who you are. And it's what you've trained yourself to become, right? It's like an athlete that's at the top of the game. They're going to keep training to be at the top of the game. And I think mindset is everything. Words is everything. And you can totally see it show up all the time, literally, if you start paying attention. And if you're in resistance to something, like loop back to the beginning of this conversation, right? Being in resistance to like creating that content, that's an opportunity to examine what you're actually thinking, those thoughts, where did they come from, reprogramming them, rewiring them, so that you can start to embrace, yeah, I am a content creator. I am all of the things that I want to do. I literally have been walking around all week like I am the top leadership coach in my industry. Like, and guess what? I'm doing an event with Microsoft in New York City. Who knew? Like, I've never put on an event in my life. How did this manifest? Right. So yeah, there's power in what you talk about, power what you think about, and I think we just all have to really pay attention to that. Really, really wholeheartedly, because you're right. The other side of the coin is there's not a lot of benefit to that. I don't know anybody that's miserable, negative, deeply, I don't know, in that state of mind that can see benefits to it, even in a health perspective, And I do understand like there's different levels. People have depression and this kind of stuff, but get some help if you're in that place. Get some help, Yeah, no, it's fascinating. Love this conversation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, for anyone who's listening to us on Spotify or anywhere else where you catch this podcast, or watching us on YouTube, we want to know what your I am statement is. So if you're on Spotify, you're going to have to jump onto incurablepositivity.com to communicate with us, because you can't leave a comment on Spotify. So we would love to hear, what is your I am statement? Just share it with us. Make that your first step. If you've never said, maybe you've always wanted to be an attorney and you didn't go to law school after college and you got stuck in some government job, and now you feel like, well, I'm 62 years old, I can't be an attorney. What if you just said, I am an attorney? What if you just said that? Or, if you're struggling to lose weight, who's not fighting that battle? So many of us are. What if you just said, I'm just so happy and grateful that I'm in control of my body, that I eat well, that I exercise, that I feel great, that I look great. What if you started making that I am statement instead of, oh, another year, I've gained another 10 pounds. So let's reverse the curse, right? Share your I am statement.
And it's never too late. Again, like I was reading something this morning, and the co-founder of Huffington Post, do you know that she was 55 when she founded that? 55 when she founded Huffington Post. She sold it for $315 million when she was 61. She's now in her 70s and she's starting a new company. Louise Hay, who created Hay House, started that by writing that book, You Can Heal Your Life, when she was 54. So we're literally, Angie, we're in our prime, like right now.
Exactly.
If you think
Exactly.
about these stories, we are in our prime. And so I think that's really important. It's never too late. There's so many stories of people recreating themselves, but you have to take action. This is one of the number one things. You have to take action. You have to shorten that window of like what you want to do and then taking action to do it. The more that you can shorten that window, the better it is. It's like if you're going to go work out, get up in the morning, go work out. Don't say I'm going to do it tonight, because you probably won't do it. Shorten the time on when you say you're going to do it, and then actually take action, because then that will build momentum. It will also build mental muscle that you're able to take action. And there's so many benefits to that. I was doing a whole study on that today about just shortening time from when you say it out loud to actually doing it, and the benefits which come next to it, because it's all about programming your mind. So yeah, I love that. Share your I am statement.
Hey, and I'll add to your list, April, because I mentioned the attorney thing because I just read about a woman who is 75 years old who just passed the Delaware bar. And she is now an attorney, and that's a dream she had when she was 18 years old. So when April talks about shortening that window, seize that, jump on that, because you don't want there to be years between your goal and the achievement of your goal. Achieving a goal is great no matter when you do it. So never give up, and it's never too late. But the sooner you get there, the more you can do, because there's a reason you wanted to be a lawyer or a doctor or an entrepreneur or best-selling author. There's a reason why you wanted to do that. And there's a reason why the universe needs you to do that. So the sooner you get there, the more good you could do. So I encourage you to do it. And by the way, for all you actors out there, I just finished a book for one of my clients who's a casting director, and she wanted this book to be broken into 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. And she listed all the famous people who didn't become famous until they were in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, and their 70s. And you would be surprised at Morgan Freeman, a lot of the big names, Sylvester Stallone, people you love and admire who didn't get famous until they were well past what Hollywood would consider prime ages. So please take this to go, go, go. That's my granddaughter's favorite saying, by the way. Go, go, go. She says it all the time. Go, go, go. So in the words of my 2-year-old granddaughter, go, go, go. Let's get it done.
I love it. Okay. Well, there's just so much good stuff to unpack from this podcast. I can't actually wait to listen back. And I am going to write my I am statements. That I am going to practice today. I think I'm going to be driving for a little bit to go visit some family. So I'm going to definitely, just be thinking about them, and then like kind of type them in my phone and write them down so that I can start recreating. Yeah, I love that I am statements. It's just a reminder all the time, right? A lot of these things we know, but we just need the reminder to pick it up and then redo it. And it's powerful. Literally, it's so powerful. It doesn't take 30 years to just write an I am statement and then have something show up in your life, and then just open up to the possibilities. Pay attention to your survival context if they're getting you in this box, and like stretch yourself beyond it, and like just sit with yourself and really think about that. I just love that so much. And your client now with the computer, how's she doing?
Well, we will see. We will see. I gave her an assignment, and I ordered Incurable Positivity for her because I'm out of books. So I trust and believe that she is going to shift. So far, so good. So many people in my life who were negative, just like me, have made the shift. They're all in different stages on the continuum, but I'm so proud. You guys may have remembered many comments that I've made about my sister. My sister is a bastion of positivity. She is not joking around. Like, I am so, so proud of her. And speaking of which, I talked to my sister-in-law, who I haven't talked to since the pandemic. And it reminded me of where we used to be, because I heard all of the negativity. So I've got it on both sides now. So I just see her as a new project now. She's a new convert. I need to work on her. because boy, the benefits, the conversations you can have with people who are hopeful, who are positive, who are forward looking, it's just so creative. And it's like, even this conversation, when I get off the phone with you or off of a podcast recording with you, I'm like 3 inches off the ground for like hours. I'm just like, I can't do anything. So you need those people in your life, and the more people you can convert to positivity, the better.
100%. I love that. And actually, somebody text messaged me this week, and he's a content creator, works on YouTube shows, and he bought the book just from meeting me. And he actually sent me a message and said, you know what, this book is really powerful. He's like, I can see how it can really help my life just thinking more positive. And he'd never read anything like that before. He's not a negative per se person, but we're all programmed that way from everything that we ingest around us. And so he recognized where that could be hindering him. And he's like, yeah, there's something to this. So I was like, well, I'm excited to see how that plays out in your life, But yeah, it's very powerful. And just don't listen to people. My thing is just don't listen to people when they say you're being too positive or you're being dismissive or whatever it is. Protect your peace at all cost. Protect your mind, really consciously think about what you say, how you speak to yourself, and believe that you are a powerful creator. And as long as you're, using your I am statements and getting in a good state of mind and feeling that feeling of what things feel like in the future, then you can make magic happen. I think you can change any circumstance with that, or a perspective on a circumstance, for sure.
I agree. As April Sorrell always says, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. I believe it.
100%. And positivity is my jam. Interesting. There's going to be a jam coming out saying positivity is my jam one day. Anyway, so funny. So anyway, thank you so much for jumping on. This was so much fun.
This was fabulous. Long overdue, but we got it done. Thank you guys.
Yeah. So hit the subscribe, share this episode if it made you think differently, feel differently, added value to your life. And definitely what Angie said about sharing with us your I am statement, 100%. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely.
And that wraps up this episode.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.